Maybe this feels familiar. You give her your time, your energy, your attention, and somehow it's never enough. The more you try to prove your worth, the less she seems to care. You replay every moment in your head, wondering where it went wrong. You told yourself you were just being understanding, patient, a good man, but deep down you can feel it. She doesn't look at you the same anymore. If this is you, you're not alone. Most men were never taught how to hold their frame. We're told to give, to please, to be available. But no one told us that too much availability kills attraction, that when you say yes to everything, she stops taking you seriously, that when you stop setting limits, she stops respecting you. You notice it in the small things, the delayed replies, the colder tone, the way she laughs a little less around you, and it eats at you because you're not a bad guy. You just want to be valued. You just want her to see that you care. But in chasing her validation, you quietly gave up the one thing that earns a woman's respect, your boundaries. Maybe part of you still believes that being nice will win her over. But here's the truth. Respect isn't given to the man who bends. It's given to the man who stands. So the real question is, how do you draw the line without pushing her away? How do you make her feel your presence again without saying a word? Because once you understand the 5 boundaries that make a woman respect you more, you'll never have to chase her attention again. Most men get this wrong because they confuse being respected with being liked. They think if they just stay agreeable, if they avoid tension, if they keep her happy, she'll see their worth. But that's not how respect works. Respect isn't built from comfort, it's built from conviction. See, a woman can only truly respect a man who respects himself first, and that means being willing to disappoint her when necessary. It means being grounded enough to say no, even when your emotions are screaming yes. Most men crumble there. They trade their backbone for her approval, and over time she stops trusting their strength. You can't fake masculine presence. You can't pretend to have standards you don't enforce. A woman feels it instantly. She can sense when a man's words carry weight and when they're just noise. And once she realizes you'll bend every time she pushes, she can't help but lose a little respect, even if she still loves you. One of the core principles of masculinity is self-control, the ability to stay centered when emotions rise. Another is self-respect, the quiet confidence of knowing your value doesn't depend on how she reacts. When you live by these, you stop trying to earn her respect, because you already have it. This isn't about dominance or control. It's about clarity, the kind of clarity that says, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and I won't break myself just to be accepted. Once you embody that energy, something shifts. She feels it, she responds differently, and suddenly, the respect you were chasing starts coming to you, not because you demanded it, but because you finally became the man who deserves it. He's sitting in his car outside her place again. The engine's off, but his mind's loud, replaying every conversation, every text left unseen. He told himself he wasn't going to chase her this time, but here he is, thumb hovering over his phone, waiting for a reply that never comes. The streetlight paints soft shadows across the windshield, and in that silence he finally feels it, the weight of every time he said, "It's okay," when it wasn't. He remembers the first time she looked at him differently. The spark was still there, but something had shifted. She laughed at his jokes, but it felt polite. She touched him, but not with the same pull. He brushed it off, told himself she was just tired. But deep down, he knew something about him had gone quiet. He used to have standards, lines he never crossed. But somewhere along the way, he started shrinking them, to keep the peace, to avoid arguments, to not lose her. And with every small compromise, he felt himself fade a little more. A gust of wind rattles the car mirror, snapping him out of the thought. He looks at his reflection and barely recognizes the man staring back. The one who used to lead, the one who used to walk away when something didn't feel right. In that moment, he doesn't feel angry, just clear. He finally understands that love without respect is hollow, that if he has to beg for it, it's already gone. He starts the engine not because she called, but because he's done waiting. Somewhere between the silence and the noise, he found what he lost, himself. And this time, he's not crossing his own line again. Most men grow up believing that being easygoing makes them more attractive, that if they just keep the peace, never argue, and always understand her side, she'll stay. But here's the truth. She doesn't fall for the man who always agrees. She falls for the man who stands for something. The moment you start abandoning what matters to you just to keep her, you stop being the man she respected in the first place. She didn't lose interest. You lost your edge. Another false belief that setting boundaries will scare her away. But boundaries don't push women away. Uncertainty does. When you're clear about what you tolerate and what you don't, she feels safe. Safe to trust you. Safe to lean on you. Safe to respect you. You can't be her rock if you crumble every time she tests your strength. Boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations for respect. And the biggest lie of all, that love should be unconditional. No, love should be intentional. Because real love includes respect, and respect only exists when there are standards. If she can walk all over your word and still get your attention, what message are you sending? That your word means nothing. She didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. The truth is, you don't lose women by having boundaries. You lose the wrong ones. And that's a win. Because every time you enforce your standard, you silently tell the world who you are. You remind her and yourself that your value was never up for negotiation. The moment you stop chasing validation and start living by your principles, you stop trying to earn her respect, because you finally start commanding it. The 1% headman doesn't set boundaries to control anyone. He sets them to protect his peace. He understands that respect isn't demanded, it's earned through consistency. He doesn't need to raise his voice or play games. His silence carries weight because his standards are clear. This is what he understands. Boundaries are not about building walls. They're about defining what energy is allowed in his life. He's not afraid to walk away, not because he's cold, but because he knows his worth isn't up for debate. Most men chase validation because they fear losing her. The 1% headman doesn't chase because he knows the real loss is abandoning himself. He's grounded, not reactive. When something feels off, he doesn't argue or explain endlessly. He simply moves with quiet certainty. This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He doesn't need to convince her to respect him. He embodies the kind of man who commands it. When she tests his boundaries, he doesn't take it personally. He knows that's nature's way of checking his strength, and every time he stays calm, he teaches her something powerful, that his emotions don't own him, he owns them. The 1% headman doesn't measure his worth by her attention. He knows a man who can be alone is a man who can lead. He's not addicted to validation, he's addicted to growth. He understands that love without self-respect is weakness, and respect without boundaries is impossible. He doesn't try to make her stay. He gives her something worth staying for. His energy is steady, not desperate. His actions are aligned, not impulsive. And because he holds himself to a higher standard, others naturally rise to meet it. This is what makes the 1% different. He's not louder, he's clearer. He's not perfect, he's disciplined. He's not chasing connection, he's creating it by standing firm in who he is. When you move like that, calm, centered, certain, you stop trying to prove your value. You live it. And that's when a woman doesn't just like you or love you, she respects you. It hits him in the quiet moments, not during the arguments, not when she pulls away, but in the stillness after. That's when he feels it. The exhaustion of always trying to prove he's enough. The ache of giving pieces of himself away, hoping she'd finally see his worth. But tonight, something inside him shifts. It's not anger, not bitterness, just a deep, quiet truth rising from somewhere he almost forgot existed. He realizes he's been waiting for her to choose him, to text first, to care the way he does. But in that waiting, he lost himself. He forgot that respect doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. He looks in the mirror and doesn't see weakness anymore. He sees a man who's been through storms, and instead of breaking, he learned to bend. A man who kept showing up even when it hurt. A man who forgot that boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. He finally understands that strength isn't about holding on tighter, it's about letting go with peace. He doesn't need her to validate his worth. He just needs to stop apologizing for having standards. And in that moment, he breathes differently, slower, calmer, certain. The same silence that once felt empty now feels powerful. Because for the first time in a long time, he's not waiting on a message, a sign, or approval. He's standing in his own presence, steady, grounded, alive. And that's when it clicks. The boundary wasn't about keeping her out. It was about finding his way back in. You don't earn a woman's respect by giving more. You earn it by standing firm in who you are. Every boundary you hold isn't pushing her away. It's reminding her that you're a man with depth, direction, and self-respect. The same strength that makes her question you at first is what makes her trust you in the end. Because when a man stops chasing approval and starts honoring his own standards, something shifts. He doesn't just get respected by women, he gets respected by himself. And that's when he becomes untouchable. Not because he's hard to get, but because he's hard to break.